The biggest failure that I had professionally just shattered every ounce of confidence I had, any ounce of intellect I thought I had, and it was a crushing blow. Newborn baby at home,
Yes.
wife at home, just shattering, earth-shattering.
I'm Laura from Ontario Business Central, and today I'm here with Ryan Seeley from Premier Business Consulting. You started your business with us, and can you give us a description of what services you provide?
Essentially, we have your stereotypical bookkeeping, accounting services, which includes payroll and any government remittance services that we need to provide. We also work with a lot of mid-sized companies as well, and we operate as a fractional CFO to those clients.
When did you think about starting this business?
Had it in my mind for several years, but I went to grad school and then I took on a job after that. So it was always sort of teetering in the back. However, we started the business in January 2020. As you know, by February 2020, everything was locked down.
Yes.
There you go. So that's where we really had to pivot, well, myself at the time, had to pivot into doing what people needed, which was bookkeeping and accounting and getting their taxes up to date so they could apply for government grants and loans during the COVID programs.
Describe what it's been like to own your own business in 3 words.
I would say challenging, exciting, and at times rewarding.
So talk about a reward that you can think of off the top of your head.
There's sort of 2 areas of huge reward that I think I felt. The first area where I really felt a sense of reward was we raised $1 million for a client. They were down and out and basically probably about 2 weeks away from just having to fold up. We worked with some potential investors, we revamped their pitch, and we raised them slightly over $1 million. And that saved the business and allowed them to go hire people, and now they're doing really well. So that was certainly rewarding on the professional front. A little bit more on the professional/personal front. Because of some of the successes of the business, we've been able to be a part of several charities. We do income tax-free days for at-risk youth. So there's been a lot of community work that I think has also been rewarding, that you get to make those decisions about.
What do you think are some misconceptions or assumptions people make about being an entrepreneur?
I think there's this illusion sometimes that you're just flush with cash and you're the rich guy on the block. I don't know where that comes from, but it seems to be a misconception. And the idea that when you're a business owner, there's more freedom. I know this idea, hey, you own a business and go on vacation whenever you want. I found that far less so than when I had the nice 9 to 5 and a steady paycheck every 2 weeks and 2-3 week vacation and that sort of thing. So I think the misperception around owning a business is that
when you were thinking about starting your business, you had different options available to you. You could incorporate as a professional corporation, being an accountant, or you could register as a sole proprietorship. You decided to do a professional incorporation. Can you tell us why you decided to take that path instead of the sole proprietorship?
I think deciding between a sole proprietorship and an incorporation is actually a question we get all the time. And there's a lot of factors to it and there's a lot of nuance, and it's not as simple as some people give it sort of the thought process around. In terms of us, I really wanted to scale this business, build it. So I knew as a business grows, you definitely want the protections that a corporation provides. Certain name protections, certain jurisdictional protections.
What did you find to be real growing pains for you?
I think the biggest challenge I had was really trying to staff appropriately for the level of business we had. And where that was challenging was there was always this point where sales would kind of grow, but then you'd have to hire someone and the expense of hiring a full-time person outweighs that.
So how many employees do you have now?
Currently, we have 15 employees on staff. We have 2 starting next week, and we have job postings out for about 11 more right now.
Well, that's great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What are some tools that you've used that you found have helped you to grow the business the way that you have in such a short amount of time?
I think definitely the tools available to us have been utilized to the fullest. And that's using technology where it's available and services where it's available, not thinking everything needs to be in-house. So, there's your typical products such as Dext, where, now we're a little bit quicker with getting receipt uploads and using QuickBooks banking automation and products like that where it's available. But also companies like yourself, Ontario Business Central, where we look at challenges in terms of dealing with the CRA or communication there, or getting ISED codes, or you name it, address changes, director changes, updating all sorts of things, where it's very easy to outsource that to a professional company such as yourself. So I think just maximizing what's available to us as a company versus trying to cut a penny here or there.
If you could say something to a person looking at starting a business, what's the kind of things that you'd say to them?
I would say that the risk involved is probably a little bit greater than you might think it is. There's going to be not just a toll of building a business, but there's a mental toll that gets taken. There's certainly a financial toll, and there's going to be burdens likely that you don't expect. You may think you have a great product or a service, but that doesn't necessarily always translate into the market thinking that they necessarily need that. So ultimately my message is always, it's not as glorious as it seems.
So Ryan, did you look at connecting, networking with any specific associations or sport groups to build your business and to support yourself, to get some mentors?
What has been very successful is finding those networking groups. We evolved that to join London Chamber of Commerce, for example. So we're a part of that association. We've joined a private club as well. So, there's a little bit of a perk side of going and having a nice meal, but it's a great place to connect, to join their social events. Unfortunately, as much as I try to resist it, the reality is that deals are made on the golf course sometimes too, right? So that's gotten me out a little bit more.
Going through the business over the last 3 years, can you give us an example of something that you consider was your biggest failure?
The biggest failure that I had professionally was I got excited because there was a business opportunity. Went in, got the financing arranged, and bought over this business. We were just trying to wrap up everything. What I noticed was there were some red flags as the year was going on, and I wasn't taking them seriously enough because I was distracted with my own company. And what ended up happening was this person who I bought the company off of essentially stole all the clients. So all the money we invested into the company, all the everything, all the obligations, definitely a six-figure loss, just shattered every ounce of confidence I had, any ounce of intellect I thought I had. Rush and blow. Newborn baby at home, wife at home, just earth shattering. So that was tough. And I wanted to quit many times.
What can you say to people who are starting a business, who have that fear of how taxation looks for them, moving from working for somebody else where they receive their paycheck and everything's simple, to having to operate and manage the finances?
If you're getting into business, there are all kinds of grants out there that, learn them, figure them out, apply for them, find them. There's free money, particularly depending on the industry you're in. And, if you have a value that you could add to the world, definitely by all means take advantage of those. So I think first and foremost, get your hands on any free money that's out there, right? If you are starting a business though, and maybe this is a little bit biased as the tax guy, I see far too often business owners, they go in and they immediately get a fancy website and they get a fancy office and they get some fancy clothes and a nice car and all these things. And then they're penny pinching when it comes to having an effective bookkeeper or tax person or something like that. At minimum, definitely recognize where your strengths are. People become professionals in accounting for a reason.
So when you talk to a new business owner or somebody who's going into business and they sit down and they say, I don't know whether to incorporate or start a small business, a sole proprietorship, do you give them parameters for that?
Generally we do, yes. It's always a question, it's always an interesting one. More often than not, too, we will find people who will have started a sole proprietorship and then a few months in, they come in and they say, hey, I read some article and I started a sole proprietorship, but I think I should have done a corporation or whatever, there's tax advantages I'm learning about. So again, we halt the brakes and we have a conversation and those parameters, are you looking to grow? Are you, what sort of your revenue projection? Are you going to be taking on loans that you need some sort of protection that separates your personal finances from that of the corporations? What is your level of insurance, risk exposure? There's a lot of those questions we'll have around setting up a corporation versus a sole proprietorship. More often than not, in the long term, we find a corporation to be beneficial, but not always. We do have clients where a sole proprietor is a great thing. They're cutting hair from home, so they have all sorts of tax advantages, home offices, all that sort of thing, and that makes sense for them. And then there's others that, there's a lot more money involved, a lot of staff, a lot of exposure. those are obviously
And having a corporation makes more sense for them.
absolutely.
I so much appreciate you coming on Take the Leap and sharing your entrepreneurial experience with others. Thank you for using Ontario Business Central.